This is Eric Hacopian, your host at CivilNet. Thank you for joining us today. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Manuk Hergnyan, who's the co-founder and trustee of this fantastic new educational institution called Zark Educational Program. And we're going to be talking about the details of the work that this foundation, this new educational setup is doing. Welcome to our program, Mr. Hergnyan.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit of a background of what Zark is and what it is working on?
Zark is a unique educational initiative catering to 10 to 17 years old young kids, trying to nurture a new generation of that is strong both in body and soul. This is actually how we define our mission. It has a unique combination of diverse disciplines, from physical to psychological and intellectual, that tries to provide a balanced educational environment for the kids to get exposed not only to our culture, symbolism, tradition, but also get trained physically with a lot of outdoor activities, with the trained in techniques of self-defense. We have also teach them survival techniques, teach them mountain climbing, a lot of outdoor activities, camp-based activities. This is a very structured program where every week, 3 times, kids go to classes, take the classes in self-defense, physical training, first aid, psychological resilience. And on top of that, we also organize a lot of campsite events. We are now building a special campsite, which is near village Sarnakpur, which is in the north of Armenia, close to Gyumri. We took a little more than 1 hectare of land, which is in a very beautiful setting, where we have also adjacent forest and water reservoir and mountains, so that we can organize a diverse set of activities for our kids. So we organize very frequent camps. It could be 2-3 days, but also we have our major event during June and July, where we have this 10-day camp event where also kids pass their exams. So the program has 4 levels. They go through the rigorous training, and at the end of each training season, kids pass the exams, so that pass through these 4 levels of training. And this summer I was present at one of the exams. Basically it was, if I'm not mistaken, 2nd level, and they have to overcome 1 kilometer with 10 kilos of load within 15 kilos of load within 1 hour, which is actually very hard to do. But what struck me actually most was not that kind of the difficulty, but that it's basically an individual exam. So you are assessed based on your individual performance. However, the kids were helping each other in order to come together to the finish line. So this was the manifestation of the teamwork, which is another important value that we are trying to instill in the kids. So this was the sign that we are on the success track. And by the way, the first year kids were competing individually. So this was the 2nd year kids that were doing this in a teamwork. So we actually defined a set of values that are lay on the foundation of our program. These are classical virtues from the ancient times and Christian virtues. These are justice, temperance, courage, and prudence or wisdom. Basically, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just trying to create the right environment to convey those values and virtues to the kids, which is actually one of the biggest challenges of education in general.
Very good. That was a good breakdown of everything. I have this rule in which almost any effort, and yours is a relatively new one, last couple of years, is judged by two dates, November 9th and September 19th. And we both know what those dates are. And what my thinking is that whatever effort anyone takes, whatever programs that we have, need to be in the context of what do we do, what kind of a country are we building, never to allow those dates to repeat themselves again. How does Zark fit into this, even though I'm asking a very unfair question, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond.
No, I think it's a very important question. I'll go a little bit deeper. After the 44-day war, we also, with a group of friends, like-minded individuals, came together and started to think of the following question. We are defeated, and by saying well, we are individually defeated. So, and we have to ask what we individuals who are active in the social activities, social initiatives, have done something wrong, or we missed to doing something wrong. And for ourselves, we identified that the biggest gap is actually that we are not, as a society, investing enough in understanding and nurturing national identity, and based on the very deep understanding of the national identity, the unique type that we represent, developing our own national agenda in every aspect of life. So that's why we formed a foundation that we call Amrod's Foundation. Amrod's is based on this notion of 4 pillars of national identity: language, faith, homeland, and values. So across those 4 pillars of national identity, we started implementing different types of initiatives. First of all, trying to help young generation that are aspiring to become the opinion makers and the opinion makers of the future. Carried out a number of initiatives, starting from a series of historical clips highlighting those episodes where Armenians believed in ourselves and actually achieved some success, starting from like Vahanan's war, or the recent series was on the Messis operation, etc. A number of different contests for young kids. And then the biggest program that we did was this Zark program, actually. And a few years later, Zark spun out of the Amrod's and became a fully independently functioning organization. And Zark is based in the notion of that in order to create our own power, we have to start with the individual. It started at the individual level and goes up to the macro and geopolitical level. Because if we have to have a decisive say in our destiny, in our future, then there is no other way than to form your own power factor. Otherwise, you have to rely on the interplay of different geopolitical forces and the situations, and you'll be at the mercy of uncontrollable forces. So whatever policy we have to pursue on the national level, I think that has to start with your own power. And in order to create this Armenian power factor, you have to start with a resilient and strong individual. First of all, when talking about such individual, I'm not talking about just only knowledge and competencies. I'm mostly talking about the character and the resilience that such an individual has, and the vision that is fit into the common vision. So naturally we started with a new generation. Actually, we started with 14 years to 17 years guild, and then we went down to 10 years because we then realized we have to start much earlier. So basically, if we're talking about the resilience, if we're talking about the revival, if we're talking about eliminating the threats to the national survival, first of all, we have to cater to the individual that is resilient, that is strong not only physically, but also mentally, and also very much ingrained in the national symbolism, tradition, and understanding our shared past.
So in a way, if we can describe it, you're actually you're creating a new platform, or what I call practical patriotism, where patriotism is not putting a flag on your car or empty rhetoric or talking about unachievable things or boasting without work, without effort. So I think what you're essentially creating a new concept in a way. Am I correct with that, or is that it's a new understanding of national identity in a way that is based on works and practicalities and a full understanding of it, and not a caricature of it?
Patriotism starts with knowing your homeland, and we basically expose kids to knowing first of all, knowing their homeland. And we, by the way, we try to escape that word, because, for example, you don't mention that you love your mother or father every time with every encounter. It comes without saying. And actually, this is the values, this is the sentiment that you live with. This is your life. So this is the way of life. Yes, of course, we bring in new elements that are peculiar to the 21st century, and particularly also that in this new digitalized world, we're trying to bring back kids to the reality, to get exposed to the nature, to understand the beauty of their homeland, to understand the bitterness actually of some of the landscape we have, and then form their character that is resembling this nature. This is the organic way of life. Because if you're not organically linked with your homeland, there is no way you will have enough commitment to defend it.
Very good insights. In a way, and this is not meant as a criticism of anybody else, you're doing work that in other places might be done by the educational system or by the state. Some places yes, some places no. What is the exact niche that you're doing that state or educational institutions are not providing to our young people? Maybe inspiration. It's not just simply programs. What is it that you have seen as a collective that the state and educational institutions are not seeing or doing?
First of all, I think we have to look at the education at a larger context. Education takes place in the current context, not only in the school, but actually in many cases much more outside of the school. Like the impact of the social media, the impact of digital technologies, media, etc., is enormous, sometimes much more than just the traditional classes aligned in many cases to the traditions of the 19th century of mass production. So that's why we view every aspect of the life as part of the education. So this is also part of the education. Not necessarily that you have to bring in everything to the classroom. The traditional, typical education has its own niche. But we see that there is not enough exposure of our kids, first of all, to character development. And you can't actually blame even the traditional educational models, because they are not structured in order to build the character. They're structured to transfer the knowledge. But this is not by the way, not the most important part of education. From the ancient times, the most important part of the education is how you nurture virtues and the character within the kids. And we believe that the environment that we create is the most prone to help them to develop that. We're still in an experimentation phase, and it's a uphill battle. So we still have a very long way to go. But I think we're looking at the traditions coming from the classical times, inspired by some of the examples in our own history, and then the new technologies, and then try to create this healthy blend of the environment that builds the character for the new generation that is strong in body and soul.
Thank you. I'm gonna close with giving you an opportunity to let people know how they can support your program. There's a good part of what this particular interview's audience is going to be diasporans, and there's actually a great hunger of people who want to support similar efforts, and there's actually many people who do similar things along different lines. You guys are not the only one, and there's too few people who know about that. So I wanted to, if I want to support your organization, whether in Armenia or outside, what's the best way for me to do it? Obviously, this involves donations and other things, so I wanted to give you a chance to let people know where they can support you before we close out our interview.
Thanks, Mr. Hacopian. First of all, the first 2 years of the operation of Zark program was fully funded by Ambrose Foundation. And then when we spun it out, Ambrose funds about 30% of the budget. The rest we fund through scholarships. The one scholarship unit is 250,000 drams per annum,
which is about $660.
Yeah. Basically, it covers the annual costs of providing this education to one kid. Mm-hmm. And by the way, this is free of charge for all kids.
Yeah, and then you have staff, obviously, who's on payroll,
yeah, of course,
professionals.
Of course, yeah. So last year, about 40 individuals and organizations joined the community of supporters, providing from 1 unit to 10 units, different units of scholarships to our kids, not only from Armenia, but also from the diaspora, but most of them from Armenia. And the supporters also become a part of the community, and we do periodical gatherings of the supporters. They come and talk to kids, also share their insights so that kids can see different tracks of success, get exposure to the wisdom of the older generation. So one avenue of support is basically providing the scholarships. The other is coming and talking and meeting.
And what's your website?
We are now in the process
of Facebook, I think.
Yeah, we have the Facebook, we have Instagram, but now I think the website will be up and running in about 2 weeks.
Okay, I'll be sharing your links on my social media. One of the things that impressed me when I came to your center is because you have staff, how vigorous you are and how hard it is to actually get to work there. I think it was from application to being hired is 5% of people, if I remember correctly in my conversations. Thank you very much, Mr. Hergnyan, for joining us, and more importantly, thank you for the collective work that you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me in this episode. Not this episode. Thank you for joining me in CivilNet for this interview.